Welcome back to the channel. Back in February we went on the Amtrak California Zephyr. Let's take a look at what the train looked like and what we thought overall, and then I'll go into some of my thoughts and what I would recommend doing if you were to do a trip like that, and some of the issues that we had with the train. So let's take a look at what the train looked like and then we'll come back for those thoughts. So this is the room on the Amtrak California Zephyr. You've got the seating area, pillows, and this up here is a bed that folds down, so the bottom area folds down and that bed. There's a little closet over there that could fit like 2 to 3 jackets. Come up, you got the windows, menu and some safety information. They provide water, pillows. See, that's the inside area of the room. Then you have a little sink area. There's some hooks up here for towels. Plug over there with light switches. There's a little bit of storage on this side, just a small piece, and then the other side over there has some towels. And then you have your restroom area. There's a shower curtain. This is the toilet, and there's the shower handle. That closes. This over there is a little table that folds out so you can sit up opposite, and then that seat you can fold up to against the window if you need more space to walk around in the room. There's a little storage rack up at the top over there, so you can put a backpack or some stuff there for storage. And then over here, this is that bed that folds down. So it'd be like bunk beds. There's a ladder that comes up, and then this couch section folds down into being a bed that's slightly bigger. You could sleep 2 people on it. You have to really like each other so you get nice and close, but it is possible to have 2 people on the bottom and then a person up top. And that is the room on the California Zephyr. This is the roomette on the Amtrak California Zephyr. You can see at the top there's a bunk that will fold down, and then there are seats on either side. They do provide water bottles, and there are the pillows, and there's a little tray table that folds down. On this side, you can see these are the steps that go up to that top bunk. You could also use them for some storage. Just bear in mind that people do stand on there, so it's not that clean. And then you can see there's a little mirror, and that's that top bunk again. It's not the most spacious room, but it would definitely be adequate if there's, just 2 of you on a train that's going to be there for a couple of days. So you would sit facing each other. There is plenty of leg room, and then these bottom chairs would fold into a bed for the bottom bunk, and you'd have that top bunk that pulls down. Here we're walking through the sleeping car, so you can see there's a hallway that goes down the one side. We had a nice view in Colorado on this one, and the rooms are all off to one of the sides. Now, they don't tell you which way the cars will be facing, so it's not really possible to book a room facing a specific direction. But this is what the sleeping cars look like, and as you walk down you can see this section is the roomettes, where there's roomettes on either side. And we'll go through into the dining car, which is next over here. You can see you just press the buttons to go between the cars, and they have the tables set up. So this is where you will have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the sleeping cars. And then you can see they have their little kitchen area there in the middle, and tables on the other sides. They only use typically half of the car at a time when they're doing the different settings. And then finally, this is their other dining car, which they use as the cafe car, or on our train as the observation car. This is one of the issues that we found with our room on the Amtrak, is the water is kind of nothing or splash everywhere. And it's really difficult to wash your hands when the train's moving, and there's like a hair trigger on the tap that you can get water without splashing. So one of the other issues we had with our room was that our bathroom did not have a shower curtain. So see there, we did not get a curtain, and we asked the attendant about that, and they said we did not need one. Well, there's a bunch of water that ended up leaking out the bottom of the door, and that's why we have towels there. So this whole section down here on the carpet got wet, and that's just with us showering quickly on the train. That's one of the other issues we had on the California Zephyr. Look at that window. So you can see over there around the tops and that, especially the whole window itself is not really that clean. And you can see on that side as well, the window is not clean, and we heard them talking about it, and they asked at the Denver stop if the windows are going to be clean, and they said they do not do that on the winter trains. So you're coming and you're trying to look out your window and there's just a whole bunch of dirt that doesn't help the experience. So here's another thing on the train. These are the other carts. Look at this. This is our cart that we're in. Not exactly the cleanest. The ones down there, those are fine. But ours? Now that we've gone through what the train looks like, let's go through some of the tips that I would put out there if you're trying to book a trip on an Amtrak California Zephyr. So first off, what I would like people to know is that Amtrak do actually have a bid up program. I'll put the link down in the description for this program, but this allows you to bid for a room. So you pay for your base room, like what we did was a roomette, and then I put in the minimum bid, which was $350, to bid up to a full-size bedroom, and my bid was accepted, and we did get the bid up to the bedroom size. So in total for us, it was $1,152 to book the roomette, and then a $350 bid up, so it was $1,502 total for us to get a room, versus when we looked at booking, it was around $2,200 if we had booked a room outright. Now granted, this does not guarantee that you will get one, but it is good to know that Amtrak do have a bid up program. The other thing that I would do is I would board in Denver and I would get off at Sacramento. The first night out of Chicago, there really isn't a whole lot to see, so I would just skip that part of the trip and I would board in Denver and go to Sacramento. Same for the stops from Sacramento through to Emeryville. There really isn't a whole lot to see in that area, so that's the way that I would do it if I did the trip again. The other thing to note is the first night of the train, again, that piece from Chicago to Denver, that night was very bumpy. So just keep that in mind. If you sleep lightly or you're easily disturbed, it is a really bumpy first night. I would recommend that you take snacks with you. There's a lot of time between meals where you may get a little bit peckish and want something, so there aren't really that many options on the train. So if you have snacks with you, that would definitely help you out. Don't overpack on luggage. The whole train's obviously climate controlled, so you're not going to need a whole lot, and the space is limited. They have a small closet where you can hang a couple of small items, and there really isn't that much storage space in the room, so you don't want to be tripping over your bags. I would rather pack light. If you do take the train from Chicago, in the station they have the Metropolitan Lounge, which is where you can go if you booked a room or a roomette, and that they have snacks and they have better seating and drinks, and they'll let you know when the train's gonna depart and where you need to go to board the train. So if you do book those rooms, that's a nice area where you can sit. We walked around the station for a while before we spoke to somebody who directed us to that area. So the other thing to keep in mind is the menu items do not change. They do have a fairly limited menu on the train, and those items will stay the same for the entire duration of the train. So your breakfast, lunch, and dinner will stay the same. So just keep that in mind. The other thing that I would do is I would bring cash. There are servers that help you out in the dining carts for your various meals, and you do have a room attendant. So I would bring some cash so that you can tip those people. The other thing to keep in mind is to leave a lot of time between when the train is supposed to arrive and when you book your flights to go back out of that area. The Amtrak trains do not run on time very frequently. Ours was 3.5 hours late, so make sure that you leave enough time that you can make it for your flight. I would also recommend bringing sandals or some kind of flip-flops to use in the shower. If you book a roomette, the shower is like a communal shower that several people can use, so you obviously want some sandals or something that you can wear there. And even in the rooms are not that clean and the floor's not that clean, so I would definitely recommend wearing sandals or flip-flops when you take a shower. I would also recommend bringing some kind of toilet spray or air freshener, poopery, something like that. Again, really tight quarters, you don't want to be stuck with a smell in there, so I would definitely recommend bringing something like that. And the other thing is a multi-plug or a power strip, just so that if you have multiple items, several phone chargers, laptops, something like that, that you have enough plugs. There aren't that many plugs in the rooms to begin with. Alright, let's move on to the problems that we had on our trip. The first and most major problem was there was no observation car on our train. Really disappointing. It's a train that we booked at the most popular time, and it's a sightseeing train to see, everything out in the country, and there was no observation car. We also only found this out after the train departed the station. So we walked back, saw there was no observation car, asked the staff if they were going to add one on at a later station, and they said that there was no observation car for our time, which again, really disappointing, and they did not tell us beforehand. If we knew, we could have made arrangements to either go on an earlier or later time, because that would have been a lot better for us to rather do that and have an observation car than go without one. But we only found that out after the train left, so really disappointing from Amtrak. The rooms in the train itself was old, and you could tell that it was pretty run down. It was not that clean, so just keep that in mind. It's not going to be some really nice, really clean room. Like you saw in one of the videos, the water pressure in the sink is really inconsistent. So especially if you're on a move-in train and you're trying to wash your hands, it's kind of all or nothing, which made it very difficult to wash hands without making a mess. Our room as well, like you saw, had no shower curtain, so our floor did get wet, and you could tell like on the towels that they turned like this brown color, so you could tell again how dirty it was with our with the water leaking on there and us having to deal with that, having a wet floor in our room. Our car on the train was really like black, as you can see in the videos outside, so just again showing that they're not really maintaining or cleaning their equipment. So again, not what you'd want to see when you're spending this kind of money doing a nice trip to go across the country. The other thing that I mention is the cafe car ran out of water on more than one occasion through our train. Especially towards the end, there was a lot of people that got on at one of the stops in California, and they went to the cafe car and they could not provide tea or coffee or anything because they ran out of water. So again, really bad planning on Amtrak's side. The food items on the menu when we had it, what was on the menu and what we got on our plates did not match. Like they mentioned one type of vegetables, the sides, and something completely different came. So again, not real good planning on the side of Amtrak. The other thing that happened with us is we were denied seating on the side of the train that we wanted, like on lunch and dinner time. So it was still light outside and we wanted to see some of the scenic areas while we were traveling. There was plenty of open seating on the side we requested, but they would not let us sit on that side. They assigned it in the way they wanted, and even though we requested it and there was open space, they would not let us sit on the side of the train that we asked for. So again, that was kind of disappointing on a trip where you're going for the scenic areas that you could not sit on the side that you requested. The other thing that we noticed was there were very little scenic announcements. I think there was probably only one scenic announcement aside from Peace in Colorado, where we were in the cafe car and they had a conductor that was talking about certain of those scenic areas. But aside from that, there were no other real scenic announcements throughout the trip. So kind of disappointing. Again, you're on a train trip to see the country and there's very little scenic announcements. We also had really limited seating, so I don't know if it's just because we didn't have an observation car, but the cafe car was like really limited on the seating, so you couldn't always sit there. We ended up spending a lot of time in our room where we could only see out one side of the train, which was again kind of disappointing that the seating was so limited on the train where you're going for the purpose of seeing the country. The other thing that you could see were the windows. The windows were not clean, which again, you're on a sightseeing train and the windows weren't clean, and they also did not clean them at any stops along the route. We did hear them talking about it, like some of the employees, where they asked if the windows were going to be clean, which they said they normally do in Denver, but for us they did not do anything. I don't know if it's just the winter or how it works, but the windows were never cleaned at any point along our route. And then the other thing is just the timing. So our train was like 3.5 hours late arriving to Emeryville, which was our final stop. So we lost a lot of our daylight hours in San Francisco. We pretty much saw sunset from the train and couldn't do any of the things that we had planned in San Francisco. And then the other side of it is just Amtrak's customer service in general. So after the train trip, I reached out to Amtrak to let them know about the various issues. Again, the main one was the observation car. That was the whole purpose for us going on this trip, and it was really disappointing not having that there. So I reached out to Amtrak to see if they could provide any kind of resolution for us, and I spoke to a lady on the phone who said that they could give us a $500 Amtrak credit. I told her that we weren't really interested in that because, given our experience, we had no intention on going on Amtrak again, and that the credit would be of no value. So she gave me an email address that I could email Amtrak on to discuss the issues, and I proceeded to send an email, which I sent on February 15th, and it's taken me a really long time to make this video because Amtrak only responded on May 9th to the email that I sent on February 15th. In this time, I'd sent several follow-up emails and called them a handful of times as well to see if there was any movement on the case. Their final resolution was they issued a refund for $263.50. So opposed to a $500 Amtrak credit, that's what they gave us as a refund, and this is looking at our total price of what we paid for the room plus the upgrade. We were in for $1,500, so they gave us the $263, which was about a 17% back. Again, kind of disappointing that it took them that long and that was the amount that they went with, not even matching what they would have given as a credit. Overall, it was interesting for us to do the train trip. I do not think I would do it again. I think there are other options where you could see, the areas of the country from other trains and, in ways that may be a little bit nicer than doing it on an Amtrak. I hope this video is helpful. I'll put in the links in the descriptions to Amtrak's bid up program and to any of the stuff that we used, and if you have any questions, go ahead and comment. I'll keep an eye on those and respond to as many as I can. And other than that, thank you. I really appreciate you watching the video, and I hope this helps if you are trying to book a trip on an Amtrak train or planning to do any other kind of cross-country train ride. So I hope this helps, and thank you. I really appreciate it, and I will see you on the next video.